If you're not someone who's very good at animations or just want to save time, you may resort to using a third-party animation library. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to a library called Animate.css. It's a popular library that comes with predefined animations. They can be used in any application. It's as simple as loading it in and then applying the classes to your elements. However, we do face a problem. The classes generated by Vue don't match the class names in the library. If they don't match, we won't be able to play the animation. We can override this behavior by explicitly setting the class names. Let's try that out. First things first, we'll want to load the Animate library into our app. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to a CDN. We're going to load Animate through an external source. Copy the link provided on the page. Make sure you're copying the link with the minified version. After copying the link, open the index.html file in our project. In the head section, with the other style sheets, link the Animate style sheet. Next, open the app component file. We're going to apply the animations to the transition group component we wrapped around the list. We can begin to use the animations that come with the Animate library. To completely override the names, we can use the following properties. Enter from class. Enter active class. Enter to class. Leave from class. Leave active class. Leave to class. Each class can be explicitly set by defining these properties on the transition group component. Vue will not add any additional phrases or names to your class names. You have complete control over the class name. Keep in mind, you can apply these same properties to the transition component. They behave the exact same way. The Animate library uses CSS animations. We don't need to set a class for every property. The Animate library will take care of setting the CSS properties from beginning to end. That means we can just set the active classes to get the animation working. In fact, I want to highlight that if you were to leave the class name properties empty, then Vue will throw an error at you. We're going to remove every property except for the enter active class and leave active class classes. The Animate library comes with an abundance of animations. You're free to use any you'd like. For the enter transition, we're going to use the following: animate, animated, animate, flip in X. For the leave transition, we'll use the following classes: animate, animated, animate, flip out X. The animated class will set some default stylings for the animations. It's required whenever you want to use any of the animations from the Animate library. Afterward, we can add in any of the animations. A list can be found on the documentation page I linked to earlier. In this example, we're using the flip animation. All animation classes start with the word animate followed by 2 underscores. Before we give the animations a test, there are 2 things we'll want to adjust. First, we need to add absolute positioning to the class that's applied to the element when it's leaving the document. Otherwise, the other elements will not animate into place like we want them to. Secondly, I want to show you how to override the duration. The default duration is 1 second. In the style block, add the animate flip out X selector. Set the position property to absolute. It's important we're applying this to the leave transition. The transition for when an element is entering the document doesn't need this. Next, let's look at modifying the duration. The duration of the animation by default is 1 second. The Animate library sets this duration. We can override the duration by changing the CSS property. Let's look at an example. In the style block, add the animate animated class. Set the animation duration property to 1.5 seconds. Both the browser and view will use the duration you defined in the style block. It'll take precedence. Go ahead with testing the transition. The form will flip in and out like we wanted. The other elements are moving smoothly when an element is entering or leaving the page. By defining the class properties on the component, we're able to use any animation library we want, even if it has a different set of class names. Custom names can only be defined on a local level. Unfortunately, there isn't a way to override the names on a global level. Keep that in mind in case you want to go heavy on the animations.